There was a time in Aram's life when he believed the world was watching him. He thought people noticed his struggles. He believed they understood his pain. He assumed someone, somewhere, cared enough to step in and change his situation. But they didn't. Every morning, Aram would wake up with big dreams and small effort. He would scroll through his phone, watching other people succeed. He would complain about his job, his background, his lack of support. He would blame the economy, his family, his luck. "I just need one opportunity," he would say. "If someone believed in me, I would prove them wrong." But days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Nothing changed. One evening, after another long day of excuses, Aram sat alone in his room. The electricity had gone out. The room was dark and silent. For the first time, there were no distractions. No social media. No noise. Just him and his thoughts. And that's when the truth hit him harder than ever. Nobody was coming to save him. Nobody was losing sleep over his dreams. Nobody was planning his success. Nobody cared enough to fix his life. The world was busy. Everyone had their own problems, their own fears, their own battles. And in that silence, something inside him shifted. At first, it hurt. The realization felt heavy. He felt angry. He felt alone. But then, something powerful happened. He understood something most people never do. If nobody cares, that means nobody is stopping me either. The same world that wasn't helping him also wasn't blocking him. It simply didn't care. And that realization became his freedom. The next morning, Aram woke up before sunrise. Not because he felt motivated. Not because he felt inspired. But because he was done waiting. He stopped announcing his plans. He stopped explaining his goals. He stopped seeking validation. He started working. While others were sleeping, he studied. While others were complaining, he practiced. While others were talking, he stayed silent. It wasn't easy. There were days he felt tired. Days he doubted himself. Days he wanted to go back to blaming the world. But every time that weakness appeared, he reminded himself, nobody cares. Work harder. When he failed, nobody comforted him. So he analyzed his mistakes. When he lost money, nobody rescued him. So he learned better strategy. When people doubted him, he didn't argue. He improved. Slowly, results began to appear. Small wins. Small progress. Small improvements. And something interesting happened. The same people who once ignored him started asking questions. How did you do it? When did you change? What's your secret? Aram smiled. There was no secret. The secret was accepting that nobody cared. The secret was understanding that excuses are loud, but results are louder. The secret was realizing that the world doesn't reward potential. It rewards effort. Years later, Aram looked back at that dark night in his silent room. He realized that was the turning point. Not when someone supported him. Not when someone believed in him. But when he understood the truth. Nobody cares about your dreams as much as you do. Nobody will fight for your future like you will. Nobody will sacrifice for your goals the way you must. And that is not a sad truth. It is a powerful one. Because when you stop expecting the world to care, you stop being disappointed. When you stop waiting for motivation, you start building discipline. When you stop blaming others, you take control. So if you feel ignored, good. If you feel unsupported, good. If you feel like nobody believes in you, even better. Use it. Let it fuel you. Let it sharpen you. Let it remind you every single day. Nobody cares. Work harder. There comes a moment in every person's life when they quietly expect the world to notice them. They expect someone to see their struggle, someone to recognize their potential, someone to step in and say, "I believe in you." For Ion, that moment lasted years. He was talented. He had ideas. He had dreams bigger than his current reality. But he also had excuses. He blamed his background, his lack of money, his limited connections. He told himself that if he had the right support, the right mentor, the right opportunity, everything would change. But nothing changed. Every day, he woke up with ambition. Every night, he went to sleep with regret. He talked about his plans to anyone who would listen. He explained how one day he would build something great. He imagined people being shocked by his success. Yet his actions never matched his words. He would start something and quit when it became uncomfortable. He would research for hours but execute for minutes. He would compare himself to others and feel discouraged instead of inspired. Deep down, he believed someone would eventually rescue him. A friend, a family member, a lucky break. Then one day, reality hit him harder than failure ever had. He had shared a big idea with people close to him. He expected excitement. He expected encouragement. Instead, they changed the topic. No applause. No disbelief. No opposition. Just indifference. That night, lying awake, he realized something that felt painful at first. Nobody cares. The world is not waiting to see if you succeed. People are not constantly thinking about your goals. Most are too busy surviving their own struggles. At first, this truth crushed him. It made him feel small, invisible. But as he stared at the ceiling in the dark, something shifted in his thinking. If nobody cares, that means nobody is responsible either. Not his parents. Not his friends. Not the government. Not his circumstances. Him. And that realization was terrifying, but also freeing. The next morning, he stopped talking about his plans. He stopped posting motivational quotes while living unmotivated. He stopped explaining what he was about to do. He stopped seeking sympathy for his slow progress. Instead, he started working in silence. He woke up earlier, not because he felt inspired, but because he knew discipline mattered more than feelings. He studied when he didn't feel like studying. He practiced when progress was invisible. He worked when results were nowhere in sight. There were days when nothing seemed to improve. Days when effort felt pointless. Days when he questioned if he was wasting his time. But every time doubt appeared, he repeated the same sentence in his mind. Nobody cares. Work harder. When he failed, he didn't look for comfort. He looked for lessons. When he felt tired, he rested briefly, not permanently. When others doubted him, he didn't argue. He improved quietly. He began to understand something powerful. The world rewards value, not complaints. The world respects results, not intentions. The world notices consistency, not noise. Months passed. He didn't become famous. He didn't suddenly become rich. But he became stronger, sharper, more focused. His skills improved. His mindset matured. His discipline deepened. Then one day, something unexpected happened. An opportunity appeared, not because someone felt sorry for him, but because he was finally prepared. He was ready. The years of silent effort, the uncomfortable mornings, the lonely nights, they built him into someone capable. And slowly, people started to notice. But by then, he no longer needed them to. That was the biggest transformation. He no longer worked for validation. He no longer depended on applause. He no longer waited for encouragement. He worked because it was his responsibility. He understood a truth that many avoid. Nobody owes you belief. Nobody owes you support. And